I hear everything one way, even though they say I don't pay attention. I do everything the same as the way I did it last time. Still you see my life is pitiful, that I'm selfish and predictable. Though I have no voice to disagree, I don't wanna change. Never getting wrong with regret, letting go that you pay flags. All the silence that keep me coming back. I'm the one that you hated. You know, the one you didn't want to believe, the one that you hated. Take a look at it now. I'm the mess you.
Guys, welcome back to Dad Talk. Today we are going to be doing it again. Dwayne, what's going on, man?
Tuesday, Tubular Tuesday, man. I'll tell
Yeah,
you right now, that intro music, I needed it.
yeah, man. It's always a good way to start off your day. I mean, that song reminds me, the one that you hated, the one you didn't want to believe. Is that not indicative of the fight that fathers are going through right now?
Preach on, brother, preach on.
Ah, man. And we're going to continue that fight. Man, thank you guys for keeping the voicemails rolling in. We got tons of them still, and we're going to roll through as many as we can today. If you would like to leave us a voicemail, let me go ahead and put in the plug for tomorrow, because I want to do a little bit different. If you want to leave that voicemail, mention that you're from Baltimore, Maryland. I'm looking for people from Maryland. Doesn't have to be Baltimore specifically, or somebody that's got a question for it. Kim Klasick is going to be joining me live on the show. She wants to hear some of what you guys are going through. And let me give you something real quick. I know politics can be a little divisive, Dwayne. Okay,
Yeah.
so somebody might say, oh, here comes a Republican now in here, or I heard what Candace said or whatever. Let me tell you something about that girl, man. I'll never forget. I had just done a testimony in like a committee here in Georgia on 50-50 shared parenting. We had been there all day long. It was during the election, so they had like the Save America rally. We had been there all day long, and instead of going back to the hotel room, there was another political rally. We want to get this out to as many people as possible, and Kim was going to be there. I had never met her.
Mhm.
She walked in the door, and so I instantly started talking to her. I was like, hey, you know much about the fatherless issue? And she was very embarrassed. She said, you know, I'm embarrassed to say, I know this is something that a lot of the people in my district are going through, and I don't know much about it. However, take down my telephone number. Next time I see you, I'll know about it. And I'm telling you, and I've admitted this to her before, I thought she was full of crap. Here's another woman on here, you know, making these promises, and next time I see her, she won't even know my name, because that's a lot of times what happened.
Right.
2-3 months later, I see her at CPAC, and she's standing in front of my booth. And I'm like, hey, I was like, can I help you? And she's like, I'm ready to interview. Sat down, knew about the Section 8, Title 4D incentives. And I was just like, oh my God. She actually did what she said she was going to do. And she's had a radio show up there in Baltimore. I think she just ended that, but man, she was getting very boisterous on father's rights, guys. So I hope you'll come in here, get some voicemails in there. She was very well known. And glad to know that we got people like that helping echo our voice.
Oh, she's a great voice for the fight. Yeah. And actually, if you go to Dad Talk Today, you can find that video and more information out about her if you go to the video section. Yeah, definitely. If you get a chance, do a little homework, learn a little bit about her. And then when you hear her, it'll all sink in. But she's a great voice for the team. One of the many.
Yep. And guys, you know, getting started, but before we get into your voicemails, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Every time you do that, you help us get this voice out to more people who might be needing it. The holiday season's coming up. We've told you about it. We've actually sent out some presents to a couple of dads already, Dwayne, from what I've been told. We're going to make Christmas happen for a couple of these families. If you would like to contribute to that, there's the address down at the bottom. If you have Venmo, Dad Talk Today, no spaces, 100% of the proceeds will be going to one of these dads. Now that I've got all that out of the way, we come to today's subject, and we want to hear your thoughts on it. If you're getting child support, you're not doing it on your own. How many times have you seen the single mom, or I guess it could be single dad too? I'm doing everything on my own. I've raised these kids on my own, yet they don't even work a job. Every bit of that money is coming from an ex-spouse over there, but I'm doing it on my own. How do you feel about that?
Well, as the youngins say from Among Us, seems a little sus to me. A little plug there for Among Us, which is now out on VR now. It's a great game, by the way. Yeah, I
We didn't
mean,
get paid for that, by the way.
oh yeah, this is all it's free advertising for them, but great VR game and great phone game as well, or PC game. I played the VR version, but anyway, yeah, I mean, the narrative out there is that, you know, women, strong, powerful, doing it on their own, and yet they're receiving child support. They're receiving assistance from family, friends. They get government assistance and all these other programs available to them. And again, it sounds insulting. I mean, the first time I ever heard that, I jumped back like, wow. Even though I've been in the movement for a while, but think about it. If you're not doing it 100% on your own, you're not doing it on your own.
No.
Child support, you're not. If you're, if you got 50-50 custody with the other parent, or even some type of custody, you're not doing it on your own.
It's no different than like some of the incentives these politicians make. They want you dependent upon them, right?
Yeah, don't be.
And they know that you're going to come back to it. They've made a lot of people dependent on this system.
Yeah.
And so they don't even question it anymore. They think it's working like it's supposed to. You know, it's going to be a little off subject. I don't know if you saw this earlier, though, Dwayne. This doesn't have anything to do with child support, but the big story breaking today, there was a father. He was a principal at a school for 22 years, got named employee of the year and everything. And one night his wife got drunk and I guess made a false accusation about him. About messing with the kids, which she later retracted and tried to get it dismissed, and they wouldn't. And he took his life, man.
So yeah, Disneyland. Yeah,
Disneyland.
Read about that last evening, I believe. A horrible tragedy. I mean, those kids are going to grow up without a father. I suspect. I mean, the mother, his wife, who I did read a suicide note. I mean, he still. I mean, this is my wife. I love her.
Never put her down.
Never put her down. And all that. Just the guilt and all that. Just from a moment when she lost her mind. I don't know. That's probably not the PC way of saying that, but got into an argument, had to get the upper hand, had to do this, and this is unfortunately what happens. Those emotions got the best of her, and it happens.
I can only imagine the type of guilt that's going to have to come along with it. I mean, what really upsets me, knowing what we know and seeing what we see with this system, is the people that hear that there was some type of allegation and instantly say, hey, this man went to take his life because he was guilty and he couldn't face the pressure. He was being selfish, and all this is like, you guys have no idea how broken this system is. And I mean, the narrative is out there so bad. The one good thing about it is I did see a lot of people pushing back. There was a lot of people that read that and said, this system is broken, which once upon a time, if there would have been a type of allegation or something out there and this would have happened, nobody would be pushing back. Does it sound like maybe our people are starting to wake up a little bit?
It sounds like, I think Johnny Depp, I'm sure he didn't want to be that guy, but he was the trailblazer, the recent trailblazer in the, busting through that narrative. Because again, she, Amber Heard, went after him, and thankfully he recorded things, and, those type of things came out and exonerated him. But, here's the flip side. There are still people out there today that still believe he's guilty, regardless of the evidence.
And I don't know that there's anything that you can do to convince them otherwise.
No.
I don't know if it's that they believe he's guilty. They want him to be guilty, right? Anybody that could sit back and watch those videos and hear her talking on the phone and on that recording and say, oh, Johnny was the one that was guilty, you're crazy.
Well,
I'm sorry.
who here, I mean, comment in here, but who here, couldn't watch parts of it, they had to turn it off. They had to walk away because they were getting triggered so bad because they're sitting there screaming at their phone or at the TV screen going, oh my God, that's my ex. Oh my God, that's my ex. Yeah, it's the false allegations and all those things. But anyway, Johnny Depp really, he is really of recent memory, really started that off. I mean, we have, over Thanksgiving weekend, we had, I think, three, murders from the custody pickups and, from the interference. And we have Amber Alerts. We had actually one today here in Texas. And, everyone assumes that when there was an Amber Alert, it's and the father has the child, it's immediately he stole the child. He's this horrible, whatever. No, it's probably the dad that just said, hey, I want to spend time with my kid. And I'm dealing with all this other nonsense. I just want to spend time with my child. And it just, the Amber Alerts, the police get involved and all that. Now, flip side, doesn't happen that often. I haven't seen any recently, but whole different episode, I'm sure, getting into the whole custody interference and all that.
Oh yeah, man. We'll definitely, looks like we're going to be having many more of these episodes. So we'll definitely make sure to cover some more of those topics, guys. I want to get into these voicemails. We are a little behind on them. So I want to make sure that we can catch up with as many as we can. So we're going to get that started again tomorrow. Kim Klasik's on here. Make sure you start it off with like Baltimore, Maryland, or Kim Klasik. That way I know how to separate these things because there's a lot of them. And I want to make sure that the ones that are addressed to her come in tomorrow. 762-441-0281. All right, here we go with our first call.
My name is Ryan Hoffman. I almost lost my two kids, and I have been fighting since September of 2020. I finally have joint custody of my two children, and now my current battle, even after divorce was granted, the judgment's made, paperwork signed, filed, I've been having to fight with the friend of the court as my new enemy to try to get child support amounts corrected, back pay, reimbursement, the whole 9 yards. I finally got the amount rectified, but they are refusing to give me any sort of credit for the time after the judgment was made, and they're just acting oblivious about it. But on top of that, my ex is still claiming Medicaid for both of the children, and they are taking that amount out in my own child support order. So I'm having to pay the state for the Medicaid, and I'm also paying for full coverage on both of my children through my own, private insurance. And I can't seem to rattle any cages to get that rectified. So, I mean, it is what it is. It's not a whole lot of money out of every paycheck, but it's still money that shouldn't be taken. And it's frustrating, but there's no real, solution that's available to me. But it does get better, guys. Just stay true and keep fighting the good fight. Thank you.
Wow, man. So here is a guy that he's having to reimburse them for Medicaid, even though he's got full coverage insurance on there. I mean, I haven't heard of that one. That was a new one for me. That's crazy, man.
Yeah, no, it happens a lot because, again, the state, I sound like a broken record now, but the state gives the incentives for the welfare recovery. And if they have a tick mark in the Medicare area and they get one in the child support, they're winning. They're making their numbers. I mean, it's the system's working as they've designed it. And it does actually happen. I've heard it enough to where I can say it happens often.
Yeah.
And it's not right. I mean, Medicare, those government things that should be available for people that truly need it. And you got a guy here who's paying health insurance, which is a crazy amount now, or has been, but it's definitely crazy now. And then he's getting double dipped. I mean, he's getting tagged twice and then having to deal with everything else. And of course, the friend of the court and they're not in a rush to do anything because, again, the incentives, they have someone that's paying.
I mean, I just don't get it though. I mean, if the government's having to pay for that Medicaid and then they got to get reimbursed, don't you think we'd just stop it if a dad's actually out there and got his kids covered? That should
No.
be positive with the state.
It should be, but they get, and I'm trying to keep from telling one of my personal stories.
Go ahead.
But,
Go
well,
ahead.
okay. It's actually one of the ways I got my child support kind of lowered the last time when my ex-wife took me back. But again, with with the state Medicaid, it's a tick mark. We have one more person on the governmental rolls. Hey, we need more funding. We need more grants. We need more things. Kind of a funny, story was. When I had again quick 50-50. I was paying $1,000 a month of child support, of course, covered the healthcare, dental, medical, eyewear, the whole 9 yards. My ex-wife, in order to get onto welfare on her own, because she didn't want to work, she put the kids, I don't even know what it's called. I call it welfare lunch, and I don't mean to be insulting to people that do get state or the lunches through the
Right.
school and things like that. And she was doing that. I called up and said, hey, if you check their account, I put money in their account, every month, so on and so forth. And they're like, nah, we're not going to make that change because they get funded for how many people are on that that school program.
Right.
And that's what it is. As long as they're getting people enrolled, they don't care.
No.
I mean, I wish the system was different, but again, the way they've designed it, really, 90 in the 90s going forward, that really incentivize those states. They've got no reason to get people off of welfare because, again, every person on welfare is that government dependent, and they want that government dependency so that they can then control and do everything else. It's the way it is.
Talking about people that don't have a heart here, man. And,
Yeah.
Guys, I mean, let's keep it rolling.
Yeah.
762-441-0281.
Good morning, gentlemen. This is Charles out of Virginia. I've been on the show several times. The child support issue in my case was a little interesting. The mom caused me to leave the workforce due to her domestic violence. But I was presenting as I was being separated from my children, which I have not seen for 1,100 days. I was going through the child support process and attempting to work, experiencing various medical conditions, and the federal government, my employer, medically retired me based upon PTSD from the domestic violence I experienced. Now, the unique aspect of it was after 13 months of continuances and paying whatever I could, for the first time in the state of Virginia that I'm aware of, child support was overturned and was found to be unjustly enriched, fraud, and embezzlement. And the mother was ordered to pay back $25,000. The mother then moved to North Carolina, which I got attorneys down there to go file civil orders for fraud. They would not prosecute her, and the $25,000 overpayment of the fraud she received, again, from her domestic violence that she committed. But they would not prosecute her because we have 7 children. I just find it fascinating that a $25,000 overpayment in child support, that I have a civil court order that says she committed fraud to obtain it, that North Carolina, when I went to enforce it with attorneys down there, they just wrote a line through the order and said, we couldn't collect anything, there's nothing to take. So why would someone have custody of 7 children that doesn't have any means or any resources, and the child support order was overturned through fraud based upon the domestic violence that she was able to obtain custody of through her perjury? I find it fascinating. I hope you can get this on the show and unpack this a little bit. But again, I currently have a $25,000 civil order. The embezzlement piece they don't want to prosecute, and the fraud and the unjust enrichment goes unpunished. And I'm on 1,100 days since I've seen my 7 children, with all of the top experts in the different fields of alienation, parental capacity evaluators, therapists, and Eric knows my case very well. I would just ask that, what do you guys think about that? Collecting child support fraudulently, then no criminal consequence at all. And I don't pay child support currently, and my name's been cleared. What a horrific manipulation of a system that's supposed to use best interests, which are unqualified opinions, and legal doctrine to say we're just going to, and now they're living in another state. So be interested to hear what you guys have to say. Hope I get on the show. Thanks for all you do, Eric, and your guest today. I appreciate you guys. Hang in there, dads.
I went to cut him off a little too soon. Hey, man, I appreciate there was a lot going on there. I wanted to hear him say something about he lost his job, I think, due to her domestic violence, and then talking about overpayment and child support. Guys, can you imagine? We had the caller yesterday that was talking about he got subpoenaed for being $3 short on child support. Well, let me give you something even crazier. I mean, that's pretty crazy. $3. I mean, the courts are petty. It could be 10 cents or a penny, and they'll come after you. They're going to make sure they get every little dime. But I've heard of cases, Dwayne, where people are going to jail for overpayment of child support.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there was a number of them. They overpaid. The guy's in court, and he's going, I'm overpaying. And it's a garnishment. He had no control. It wasn't like, and who in the right mind would do, like, I'm going to overpay this thing. The state was responsible for garnishing his wages. They had 100% control over that, and they still put him in jail. Their fault.
Dude, this is
just
crazy.
Speechless.
It is. How are you going to put a guy in jail for overpayment of child support? No, I wonder, because see, that one don't make sense to me. You would think that would almost be like encouraged, and then we're not going to give your money back or anything.
Well,
Is there something possible? Does that mess with Title 4D if there's a overpayment? Have you ever looked into that?
I've never looked into it. It's always collecting the amount, and
Never thought about it.
I'm a computer guy, and usually when I do testing on software, I do that negative testing is what we call it. So, if you're on an IVR and you're hitting 1, 2, 3, 4, I test, you hit all the buttons. That one blew right past me. No, it's one of those, I never thought of it.
It makes sense though.
Yeah. Unless they're looking for a reason to put the guy in jail.
Maybe.
It's contempt of court. It says you were supposed to pay this amount. He technically didn't pay that amount. He had no control over it. They handled the garnishment. He had zero control, and then they summoned him into court and then threw his butt in jail. And he's just sitting there going, what the heck is going on?
Well, and the even sadder part about this, you hear all the challenges like this last caller went through. And then the big thing is 1,100 days without seeing his 7 kids. Come on.
To bring it down to a number like, I haven't seen my kid in a week or a month. No, 1,100 days.
Now, specifically, what was he saying? What kind of fraud was it she committed to get the overpayment?
Well, there was embezzlement and, what was the other? I need to start writing these things down. I forget.
There's a lot to remember.
Yeah, there was a lot. He could tell he had been through some stuff here. But, I know he got a bunch of continuances, 13 months worth, which is, he was ordered to pay during that entire time. And then I guess they determined that there was fraud or something, embezzlement. I'm trying to figure out how the embezzlement part happened, but all that mixed in there, and they vacated it and said, all right, $25,000. She did the smart thing. She had to have an attorney. When she went across state lines, as long as they're not collecting it, they don't care. Because again, that incentive, that interstate incentive there doesn't apply, or at least I don't believe it does. And they're not going to, and again, the other state would have lost that money. So they said no. Yeah. They decided not to do anything about it. And that's the thing, he had a civil judgment, but these are courts of equity.
Yep.
They make the rules up and they do whatever they want to do, whatever's going to make them the most money.
And nothing you can do about it.
It's currently, until enough people collectively say, we're Twisted Sister, we're not going to take it.
And we don't have enough people to do it yet.
We don't. We got D. Snyder, and that's about it.
He's a big guy.
He is a big guy.
Oh, dude, I met him in real life, and it was. I have so many cool rock and roll moments. His is not one of them.
Really?
His is probably the most depressing of all of them.
Well, okay, yeah.
I do this
his
concert
story.
with him in Wichita, Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been wanting to meet him for so long, dude. All right, so I am the guy that had my bike. I used to go everywhere on my bicycle when I was a kid. And I had the cassette player that had a speaker built into it taped on my bike, going up and down my driveway playing We're Not Gonna Take It. And I had it was all Twisted Sister thing.
Oh, yeah.
This was the coolest thing in the world. I want to rock. And he gets out when I'm at the concert, he gets out and he throws his hair back and he stood up and I was like, holy crap, that's a big guy.
Big boy, yeah.
And so he gets up there, he's doing We're Not Gonna Take It and everything, and it starts raining, and he has to come off the side of the stage, and he stands right beside me. And he's got his arm right against me, and I'm like, oh, dude. I mean, yeah, that was one of the bands. I loved him when I was younger.
Yeah.
And so I look at him and I said, D. He's like, what? I said, can I get a picture? And he goes, no. And then took off. I'll never forget that one.
Not D.
It was the worst one out of all of them. Yeah. And I was just sitting there like an idiot, like,
like telling me there's
I
no
was like,
Santa
dude.
Claus.
Yeah, I've had a hard time listening to Twisted Sister since then.
I got his albums.
I know it.
Oh.
You hurt me on that one, man. And I'm not going to take that. As your fan, I'm not going to take that. I wanted to rock, but you killed me on that one.
Oh,
anyway, you had to bring up Twisted Sister.
I'm sorry, I didn't. Trigger moment.
It's all good. Guys, keep those voicemails coming in. 762-441-0281.
Hey, my name is Nick. I'm from Michigan. I have a son. I believe in child support. I believe you should be there for your kid. But I believe that you should only be obligated to pay for half of what the child consumes, depending on how much you have and how much he has. I know recently, I don't know, I'd say about a year ago, I should say, my ex-wife, she wanted more child support. I told her to give me a breakdown of what it is that she pays for him every month. She couldn't do that because she has no clue. She don't spend nothing on him. Okay, I roughly give her $220 a month, which is very little compared to a lot of guys. And I believe that's all she deserves. To be honest, I put money away for him still. But I don't believe that he consumes that. I don't want to pay her bills. I want to pay for him. His food, what he consumes. He's in a household of roughly 3 people, my ex-wife, her fiance, and him, which means that he consumes 1/3 of the energy in the food, which I should be only obligated to pay half of 1/3. She should be obligated to take care of her end of the responsibility. Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys. Have a good day.
I heard the voice cracking there at the end a
Yeah.
little bit. Dude, I mean, there's no telling what is going on in that situation, guys. It sounds like there's a new fiance in there, and that can definitely cause a lot of emotions too. $220 a month. I'll be honest with you, man. That's not too bad. It's not too bad. I don't know your financial situation by no means, but that if there was going to be one, that's it. But then again, if there was shared parenting and you was having equal access, that probably wouldn't be needed. I don't know. What's your thoughts, Dwayne?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean any disrespect to the guy. I mean, I know he's doing the best he can, and I know how this can get this way. You know, I'm not going to pay her another dime because she's going to go get her nails done and yada yada yada. At the end of the day, it's about your kids. And you want to give them everything you can. And I understand the whole blank check to baby mama, baby daddy, whatever that case may be. And you don't want her using on the, new boyfriend and all that stuff. But the whole, she should do the 1/3 and that gets into that formula. And I know where he's coming from, but that whole,
I do too.
When you start doing the specific numbers and down to the penny, it just, I don't know. It just doesn't, I
Well,
can't.
well,
Quite,
so we got to be fair here too, and the last thing we want to do is upset any of our guys.
yeah,
That one's not too bad, man. I'll be honest with you.
yeah.
I mean, if they was going to make a maximum child support, 200 to 250 a month or something like that for kid, and maybe an extra 100 if you got 2 kids or something. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get into numbers because everybody agree or disagree on that. But that's not too bad. There's not too many times you could go get your nails done with $220 a month.
Exactly.
Okay.
$200 a month to feed, clothe, and house a kid. That's a drop. I mean, a way to drop in the bucket for
But
a number of people.
well, let's get into this because this is where the other side of emotions come from. We'll get off the money part right now, but he is paying the child support, okay?
Mm.
But if there was shared parenting, like I was talking about, Dwayne, and they was getting equal time,
Yep.
the money wouldn't be needed. And then another thing's got to be pretty hard to take, okay? I got a child with this woman. I could be getting equal time, but now there's a new man, a fiance in there, and he's getting to see my kid more than I am.
Glad you brought that up. That's a huge one. I mean,
Oh yeah, and it rightfully so.
Oh, well, I mean, you're basically, and when you have situations where, what if he gets remarried and then the same situation goes, in his direction? So you have a dad that's only allowed to see his biological child 20% of the time, but he gets to be with his non-biological child 80% of the time. And conversely, same thing with, him, his ex-wife, and that other parent. You have some other guy raising your child, essentially. I mean, the 80-20, that's just not enough time. I mean, that, and the government's okay with that. And that's what's happening today. I mean, because people move on, they start new relationships. But you have, a father that has a stepfather raising a child 80%, a heck of a lot more time than he has with them. And you can't, it's just time you don't get back. And there's just so many different pieces there, but glad you brought that up. I mean, that's a huge point.
And it's a hard pill to swallow. It really is.
Very hard pill to swallow.
But this one's not. This one's not. Take it.
Red pill.
Take it. Take it. It will do you good. Guys, keep those calls coming in. Hey, man, I appreciate it. And I hope everything gets better, man. I can understand the frustration. I can. Don't think that we're discounting that one bit whatsoever, because we're not. And I know what that can be like. But keep those calls coming in, guys. 762-441-0281.
Hi, Eric. How are you? I'm glad you're doing this show. Thank you for putting this together. We really need to talk about child support. I'm calling from New York State. There's a fundamental problem that I think most people do not know how to solve. The problem is child support. It's a massive problem. We've talked about it ad nauseum. And most people say, I don't know what to do about this. How do you fix it? Well, I don't have that problem because I know how to fix it. And it's kind of detailed, and it's a lot longer than we can do in 3 minutes. But let me give you the general idea so that we can start mulling it over publicly. First, you identify the problem. Second, you identify solutions. You'll get nowhere if you cannot identify the problem. And the problem, as we know, is child support orders are made by lawyers who are child support magistrates or lawyers who are judges. The fundamental problem with that is lawyers are completely incompetent at 6th grade math. I even had my lawyer tell me this, that none of them know how to do math, and they don't know how to do financial planning. We can also talk about the gender bias in family court. We can talk about overstated child support orders. But fundamentally, you have lawyers making financial decisions for families. Well, there's a whole part of the universe where regular intact families do financial planning with a certified financial planner. These people know how to do finance and accounting. They know how to plan to save for college, to buy your home, to save for your retirement. They understand costs in different areas and the future cost of college. What Americans need when they're splitting up is somebody who's competent and intelligent in terms of financial planning to help them figure out how to decide who spends what money on the child, who saves for the child's college. How do you make a coherent financial plan for two families that now live apart? Lawyers cannot do that. Lawyers are completely incompetent at that. And as Americans, it's really too bad that our government forces broken families to get financial decisions made by lawyers who are incompetent at basic math, let alone financial planning. So to start, what you really need is to fire all of the child support magistrates and judges across America and replace that with a system of certified financial planners that are licensed in helping families figure out how to plan for their future. And then maybe after that, you might go to litigation if that doesn't work out. But that has to be a starting point. That's how you get intelligent decision-making for families in America who have broken up. So I hope that helps, and there's a lot more to that. Take care, bud. Bye.
You know, I mean, I hear you, dude, but I don't know Superman.
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you, like, trying to get that done even in one state versus trying to do it in the whole United States, is you're going to have your hands tied. If you could do it, yeah, it would definitely be effective. Do I think you're going to be able to? I understand what he's saying. What do you
Yeah.
think, Dwayne?
Oh boy. When he started talking, talking about lawyers being incompetent, I had to chuckle.
Yeah, that was true.
Yeah, they are in a way. A lot of it's a planned incompetence. They're in certain ways very smart. They know how to delay things. They know how to manipulate and do things. Of course, put more money in their back pocket. But it reminded me when you said judges, is everyone knows who Judge Judy is.
Yep.
And Judge Judy on video is quoted as saying, "Judges are morons." She said it, not me. So don't.
Judy.
I'm sorry.
I said I like Judy.
Oh, Judy's.
I want you on here, Judy.
I wish Judge Judy would come on. That would be.
I'll give you your own
awesome.
program.
Exactly.
Come on.
She's great, but yeah, the financial planning and all that. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. But really, it's the kind of thing I've been talking about each time I've been invited on here is that mom and dad, things are going to change. They both need to be adults, sit down and figure out how to raise that child as co-parents, separate but equal, and do the whole co-parenting thing and keep all the money they're going to raise and all that and put it into their kids' college fund versus the attorney's kids' college fund, because that's exactly where it's going to go. And, when you ask, again, women file for divorce 70, going on 80% of the time, based on some of the newer research coming out, used to be 75-ish.
How much of that is affairs?
We'll have to get the numbers.
You don't have to worry about it right now. I know it's pretty high.
I'll get those numbers. It actually
Yep.
broke out why they do file for divorce. Boy, I whatever thing I said would end up being wrong. But yeah, there was divorce, financial, emotional, fell out of love. I remember those key factors. I'll have to find that while we're talking. But having the kid, making that kid the focal point and doing everything you can for that child, instead of giving your kids inheritance away to a law firm.
Yep.
And, with women and men, but I'd say mostly women, again, based on the data, you have to calm down and think that you got to love your kid more than you hate your ex or soon to be ex-spouse or ex-partner. You got to put that kid first.
I'm with you, brother. All right. Hey, man, I appreciate the thoughts. And let's continue working towards that. If we can ever get to a point where we can get some grassroots going right like that, I would love it. Keep the calls coming in. 762-441-0281.
Hey, Eric. This is Blaine Campbell Jr. I was on earlier today and made a comment about how the laws here in Virginia are. I was the one who commented that if a woman was divorced 10 months or less prior to the birth of a child, they put the ex-husband as the father on the birth certificate, which was my case with my oldest son. He's now 20, but I just found out about a year or so ago that I've got to go and, even though I've petitioned for paternity and proved that I was his father, I still have to go back through the bureaucratic red tape of Virginia, the Commonwealth, and change his birth certificate to where it states that I am his father. Okay? So thank you very much, and bye-bye.
So I was trying to catch as much of that as possible. Was he talking about legitimation?
Yeah, doing the DNA test to see if he was or was not the father. But I think kind of the point of the first part is that, if you're married, and I guess in his state it's 10 months after the divorce or within a 10-month period, they naturally they'll put the husband's name down as the biological father, and then the onus is on the father to go through all the red tape and all the nonsense to get a paternity test and then go through the court system to then be relinquished of the responsibility of taking care of the child. And as you know, here in Texas and other states, if you don't do it just the right way, you're stuck and you're paying for a kid that ain't yours and going to jail for him.
Speaking of the right way, and I think this might be a good place to say this. Again, we're not attorneys. You're not getting legal advice from us. We're talking. We're just two guys on here talking that happen to know a little bit about this. But if you do get that paternity test, some of these guys might want to have a little bit of assurance and might go get that little home kit because they can just swab it in their kid's mouth. Don't ever do that. Let me tell you why. They don't use it. That was something I learned from Cornell. A lot of these guys have made mistakes and they'll be like, I caught you, and you're never going to get it done then because they know. Make sure that you're doing it in a lab where they can get that done. I just wanted to get that one out because there might be somebody watching, Dwayne. If that saves them, it's like the guy that pays in cash for his child support, right?
Yeah.
Once you've done it, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah. I don't want any guy, jumping in his car to go to Walgreens or Rite Aid or Piggly Wiggly or wherever you're at to get a home, get a test and try to get out of that.
It's convenient, right? I mean, it is convenient. You could get it and then you could just send it off. Nobody knows. But I mean, it might give you the peace of mind, but at the same time, you ain't going to be able to use it.
No.
And what's somebody going to do? They find out it wasn't their kid. They're going to want, man, what did you do? Tell me what's going on. Don't do it, man.
Don't do it.
Guys, we got to learn to control our emotions. It's not easy.
Yeah.
When somebody's messing with your finances and your kid and your emotions and your reputation. I mean, we could go on and on, but we're going to get back onto these calls. We got about 18 minutes left in the show here, so we're going to get to as many as we can. 762-441-0281.
Hey, my name is Mike. I live in Iowa, and I'm have mixed feelings on the child support system. I believe that, fathers always have their responsibilities, as do mothers, but the court needs to, once the court gets involved, it becomes a whole nother matter. In my own situation, when you look at how most of the divorces are no clause or no cause and initiated by women, or it's like 70% initiated by women. You see that they're not taking this stuff seriously. They're not taking the marriage contract seriously, and
contract.
It's tough. Sometimes you don't know how a man ever makes it out of those situations. They say after a divorced man, after 2 years, he's like 60%. 60% of kids never see their father after that. They're separated, and the courts aren't in their favor. And us men got to stick together. Get your money right, break all your old habits, all the bad habits, get your money right, and then because you ain't going to be able to touch the courts until you got a fortune in your hands, and you're not going to be able to do that until you're going to have to make multiple sources of income just to see your kids. So do what you got to do. Don't ever give up, and get your family back together.
All right, man. Hey, dude, I appreciate that. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's weird. We've done this a few times. We'll be talking about a topic. We play a voicemail and somebody's talking about the very topic.
Yeah.
I promise you it's not planned, but he's talking about how
premonition
in a time that they initiate divorce. And that's true. You talk about the contract. Well, if I break a contract between me and another party now, it's usually known as breach of contract. Why is it adultery and some of these things upheld inside a family court anymore?
Well, 1969, no fault divorce signed by then Governor Ronald Reagan, which again he said was the single biggest mistake he's ever made. But that's taking the fault out of it. That's what paved the way for a lot of this stuff. I mean, it should scare most people that a person can wake up, and again, a contract is two people mutually assent into a signed contract to fulfill duties, requirements, whatever that contract is. One person shouldn't be able to unilaterally end that contract. especially without any type of consequence. Now they get cash and prizes most of the time.
She's with Oscar and Meyer too at the same time.
Exactly. I mean, when you look at the contract, and it's funny, I mean, this is probably a whole other thing, and I wrote about it. I never published it, but because I got so into the weeds, it got crazy. But we talked about what is marriage. Well, when you talk to marriage, usually around this time of year, around February, it's love, and it's this, and it's that, it's the next step, and blah, blah, blah. When you look at your marriage contract, the word love is never mentioned. None of those things. It is a contract to it establishes rights, property, indentured servitude sometimes, and things like that. That's what a marriage contract is. And I haven't taken it out to the tinfoil level that I need to, but I look at a marriage contract, and I'm married, by the way, happily married. Third time's a charm. I joke about that. Third time's a charm for me. Oh, hey,
we're both 3-timers.
We're 3-timers. One, and that's it. I'm done. No one gets out of this alive, and I'm partially joking about the no one gets out of this one alive. I love my wife dearly, but
that might come true. You saying that on a show?
Yeah. But if you go back and look at the history, it's actually illegal to get married. Just I know we have common law marriage and things like that, but it's illegal to get married and have all those rights and everything. I kind of equate that to like having a bang bang license or a driver's license. It's actually illegal to do it until the state allows you to do it, and then you're subject to the state. And this goes into a big tinfoil hat. That just volumes of rabbit
get
holes.
One that I can put on when we start going into it.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop now because and I'm sure there's some guy out there, some guy or girl's like, finally we're doing this, but I'm sure we'll have to save that for a different time. But yeah, it's the marriage contract.
Well, there should be consequences for sure, man. I mean, because it's dangerous too. If they're going outside of the marriage, you could end up getting something Ajax isn't going to take off. I mean, we can go into so many different weeds when, talking about that, but nobody should be able to do that. I mean, because this person's got to deal with all those emotions anyway, but now you got to lose your house and spend your money with the attorneys and stuff before you're even mentally ready to be doing anything. You can barely take care of yourself. It's wrong. It's wrong on so many levels. This is just one of the many things feeding into that mental health crisis that we're seeing with our men. Right.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, we're going to keep them rolling. 762-441-0281.
Doug here. New York divorce.
Uh-oh.
Although they filed it in New York and then they ran to Connecticut, drawing me back in, so we're straddling the state line. And this was in 1994. My children are 32 and 29, and I'm still paying child support. And I'm paying child support at the rate of what it was when I was fully employed, had a business, that they harassed my employer, causing me to be terminated. And when doing so, went to family court to modify, and they refused to modify. So arrears has been backing up the wazoo, and I still, as I sit here today, owe just about $29,000. And in fact, she had an order going to Supreme Court, which was overpaid for previous support order, although that didn't have interest in New York, and family court here in New York's 9%, hence the $29,000. So she owes me 40 in Supreme, and that's the issue right now is what's going to happen when I go to family and say, fine, I owe 29, but she owes me 40, and apply that to that, because there's a big dispute here about what I owe in family, because the way the order was written, they failed to modify the order upon emancipation of the first child, overcharging me $15,000 for the second child, plus interest, for the second child between the first and second child, if you follow me. Meaning, he should have been emancipated. She should have been emancipated first, but because I don't write the check, it's debited, and because of arrears, a dollar amount goes, you don't know how much is really going. So that's the situation today, and I can tell you more. Her sister's a lawyer, and then she stole her mother's house. Fraudulently did the will. Who wrote the will? One of my matrimonial attorneys. Fuck New York.
We got the F-bomb. I mean,
I
Man,
kind of figured he was going to do it. I could feel it in the air. He was
I
going
did
to,
too. From the very first second that I heard him talk, I was like, this one ain't go. I mean, but dude, it just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
This guy's got a right to be angry.
Oh, definitely. Now, yeah, I mean, and this is a great example and all the nonsense at 9%. Oh my God. Well, New
Yeah,
York,
it's ridiculous.
mafia and all that up there. He
Oh,
said
yeah.
something, and it hit me. Some conversations I've had in the past about you want to fix child support. We were talking on the other session, I think yesterday, or I'm sorry, just figuring out the days anymore. But how to make the state happy and make people happy. And someone a heck of a lot smarter than me, I don't want to say his name because I think a few people have suggested it to me, is what if they were to charge both mom and dad child support and then have it cancel each other out? Or, if dad makes $100,000 a year, mom makes $10,000 a year. I'm bad at math. So, dad's going to pay $1,000, mom's going to pay $100, and then, the custody is, whatever it is to make it equal. And bear with me on the numbers here. I'm going to be horrible with it. And so dad sends in his $1,000 to the office of the attorney general. Mom sends her $100 in, which is the collection, the incentive piece and all that. And then it gets sent to the opposite person. All the same things work the way they're supposed to. The states get their money and the child support's being taken care of. Everybody wins.
I get it, man. But I mean, let's go back to the needs of the child. What is it going to cost on average for this child to be given food, clothes, and whatever they're going to need? And then remember, we got to remember the minority of cases that the people are going to bring up. They're going to be the cases where you can't do that with everybody because some people's got special needs. Well, you figure out what that special needs child needs and you do that too. But for most of the kids that aren't going to be going through that, get the basic needs of the child and then say, this is going to be half. Mom, I expect you to do this. Dad, I expect you to do this half. You're both doing it. Show them equal responsibility. Get the arguing out of there. And let's make that thing that we hear all the time in the world, but we never see it, called equality.
Feminists and people talk about equality based on sex, on gender, and all these things. This is the most I can't even say it right. The most unequal thing out there. I mean, you cannot call yourself a feminist or anything if you're accepting child support and you're not giving the father at the 50% of the time with the child. You can't. Logically, you cannot do it, and I'm sure they'll start. Actually, it's already starting up. I said what I said. I'll take from the thing that you said earlier.
No, dude, it's it made me think. Do you ever watch Pee Wee Herman back in the day?
Oh yes.
Remember when they said the magic word and everybody had to, I'm gonna find something. We need to do that every time we hear the word equality. It's gonna be the word
soundboard.
Everybody jumps up. Ah.
Yeah. We should do that. Maybe in the comments, have them roll the or Pee Wee Herman up there or something. Yeah, but I mean, isn't that what we're all saying? I mean, we've been talking about it, beating around the bush. Maybe somebody would say it here and there, but you know what? You want to be equal? Get off the government dole. I know you think I was getting ready to say it, but get off the government dole. Give the other parent equal time. And do it on your own. If that's it, you're not doing it on your own and you're not a feminist. You don't want equality. That's it.
There's a lot that comes around with equality. Men make up 93% of the workplace deaths. We ain't working the same jobs. We ain't going down the rabbit hole because we got 2 more voicemails to get to and we got 6 minutes to do it in.
I got one more. I got to get one more in. Sorry, I got to do it.
No, you're good.
My kid, when my kids were, around 12, 13, 14, they'd say, Dad, I'm an adult. Yeah. And I'm like,
I've heard that one.
Yeah, I can make decisions. I'm equal to you, Dad. I can do whatever you can. Blah, blah, blah. Can't work an 8-hour shift. A whole different story. Now that, the oldest, he's 21 now and living on his own and paying bills. And he's like, I don't like this anymore. This equal stuff is nonsense.
Didn't last long, did it?
Didn't last long. It was cool when he was 12, 13, and 14 and a kid. But now you want equality, step up and be equal. Do what you're supposed to. All right, I'll get off my soapbox.
You find out how much being an adult sucks when you have like a very expensive part on your car brake.
Oh, yeah, well, you put back the $12.13 chicken to get the $11.50 chicken.
I am that guy, dude. I'll put it back for a nickel.
Hell yeah!
I ain't kidding. And if I do get the bigger pack, I have to seriously sit there and ponder it. It's because I got one extra mouth to feed. I'll go up a quarter.
Yeah,
I'll go up a quarter. All right, guys, we're gonna keep on with these voicemails. Got a few more for you before the end of the day.
This is Jody from Buffalo, Missouri, and I am actually calling in regards to your child support questions that you had put out there. Do I agree with child support? Only if the other parent, male or female, is not holding themselves accountable and responsible for that child. So how much is too much? Well, that all depends. I have a friend that, he brings home like $50 a week to live on because his child support is so steep on a child. That is not right. So I do feel like that should be filtered down, right? Is it for lifestyle? And should receipts be required? I absolutely feel like receipts should be required. I feel like when it comes to child support, all parents should be 50-50 in this. Now, if there's one parent calling the shots and just presenting a receipt to the other person, should they be able to go out and buy all Puma and Adidas and name brand and all of this because they know they're only responsible for half? Absolutely not. That should be an agreement. You want to spoil your kid and buy them all name brand things. My opinion, that person should be paying 2/3 and the other party should only be paying 1/3, right? As far as Uncle Sam, I don't know how much Uncle Sam makes, but he shouldn't be making any, in my opinion. So there's that. That's just kind of what I'm thinking as far as child support. The only time it should ever be a thing is if there's one parent not holding themselves responsible for that child. Now, if there's a mom or a dad out there that's keeping the child from the other parent, my opinion, that other parent shouldn't have to pay anything because it's not about I didn't get my way, therefore I shouldn't have to pay you anything, or, you should have to pay even though I'm withholding that child from you. It doesn't work that way. It's called co-parenting, and that's the way it should be in any broken home. Thank you very much for hearing me out, and talk to you guys again soon. Bye.
Thank you. I could have swore we had something very similar the other day. We was talking about as long as I knew they were buying Adidas or whatever,
Right.
and then what it got us into the New Balance thing. But
Yeah.
this brought up to me, I understand the MGTOW and stuff like that. Do I believe that's the way we need to be? No, I understand why people are doing it, but there is such a disconnect in the people that are benefiting from the system and the people that are victims of the system that I don't think they have the ability to place themselves in the payer's shoes.
Right.
They even mock them. They'll mock them. And for you're a crybaby, you can pay it. Go
Right.
get a better job. They'll say anything. There's zero empathy. And once a man goes through something like that, and no, we're not bashing on women. Those type of women can stay the hell away from me, though.
Mhm.
That type, you want to talk about toxic, dirty. That's why these guys are angry, because there's a lot of them. A lot of them.
There are a lot. There's a high percentage that have that. And again, you have a man that's been scorned by that. It's hard to trust again and to do those things. And usually the men want to be that provider. They want to do those things, but you have a woman that takes to and then attack their manhood and call them losers and no, you quit being a whiner,
man.
Yeah, it's I understand the MGTOW philosophy definitely the red pill philosophy, but the MGTOW philosophy, it's you get burnt so often, you get burnt so bad. Who would want it? It's like playing Russian roulette with 5 of the 6 bullets. And actually, if you look at the percentages, it's almost an even 5 bullets to 6 chambers. You're playing Russian roulette with a semi-auto to get remarried or go out there and date again. Why? After you get burned that, why would you do that? And men go their own way, which is what MGTOW is for those that think we're talking in weird acronyms. It's men going their own way. It's a philosophy. There's varying areas of that in the manosphere. It's not hate, although some do take that a little bit further than it needs to. All women are evil, all this, all that. But if you look at the philosophy of it, it's just, you're being in control of yourself. You're doing what's right for you. And that includes, having a woman by your side. And I will say that again, by your side, you're equal. Equality.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we believe in equality. I'll speak for myself. I believe in equality 100%. Always have.
That's right, man. All right, guys. We are going to get to the last voicemail of the day. Keep them coming in. Tomorrow is Kim Klacik. We want to hear what you got to say. 762-441-0281.
Hey, man, I'm calling from Florida. My name's Gary, and I've been dealing with this child support bullshit for about 5-6 years now. Lost my license a total of about 10 times due to the line of work I'm in. I'm a union iron worker, and when a job gets done, sometimes there isn't a job available to roll right into directly after. Sometimes it's a 2 to 3 week layover, and if you don't file for unemployment, then child support automatically takes your license here in Florida, and it's just a bunch of garbage. And there should be no reason I'm even paying child support on 50-50 custody when all the mother does is go on all these online dating sites and spread her legs and continue to make more babies as she's pregnant with twins right now and don't even know who the dad is out of 3 different dudes. So as I fight this, it's brought on a lot of depression and a lot of heartache, and it's hard for me to watch my child go back into the environment of her mother's house where she sees all these random dudes coming in and out the house any given day and time of the night and all that, as far as seeing a dude naked in her bed one time. But I'm the bad guy when I say something about it. And it's none of my business according to her, but according to me, it's every bit my business while my child is there. We have 50-50 custody. If she can't play on her own time, she don't need to be doing it in front of my child while getting paid for it. It's just outright disgusting. And the Florida system is totally fucked. I've learned that Florida's #1 revenue is the child support program. The state of Florida gets more money out of child support than they do anything else in Florida. And that's bullshit. Why am I paying them and her and struggle to take care of my child when I have her? It's just utterly disgusting. And until next time, we'll talk to you again.
Hey, man. You know what, dude? Let me say, we weren't laughing at you. We were laughing at what you said.
Yeah.
Because, and then I get hearing more and more into it. And it's just like, you hear that your daughter's seeing all these men go in and out. There's no telling how many of them. Dude, that'd be a whole other conversation. You think the child support situation gets people mad? Let's talk to one of these dads that's getting alienated. And we was talking about the fiance that's spending more time with your kid than them. And then they start trying to tell your kid to call him dad. Right. And then they've got 10 different men that they're calling daddies. I've seen it. And this sounds like a guy that the situation is just crazy. He knows it's not what he wants his daughter to be in. Mom isn't going to listen to what he's got to say. She doesn't have to listen to what he's got to say. And there is a lot of damage being done to his kid. He is over it.
I would ask, the ladies to comment or call in, maybe put a tagline. Like, what goes through if you've done it? Don't leave a name if you don't feel comfortable, but why? Because I mean, your kids. It sounds like he had a daughter, right? So this guy's daughter is watching this behavior of boy, I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. I know what I want to say. Entertaining a wide variety of men. When that daughter sees that, is that the values? Is that what they're? I mean, is that they're really wanting to teach them, or was it just where you? I just have to think logically that they were just so blinded by hating and getting even with the ex-spouse that they were doing it out of spite. That's the only way I can really rationalize it in my head. It's not. And again, I may be wrong.
I think, look at the way entertainment and all this stuff has painted relationships. I think the 90s song for some of these women really goes through my head when thinking about this. Don't go chasing waterfalls. They're always chasing waterfalls, rainbows, unicorns, right? Looking for this magical thing. And the more relationships they get in, the more attention. It's just like this revolving door of trying to find the perfect happiness rather than saying, I might need to change something. I might need to do the work here. I need to find some responsibility. Let me see what I can find. I'm just going to go through this revolving door. The first time I see something, I'm going to go on to the next. And they get hooked on that.
They get the feels, the butterflies in the feels.
They get hooked on that. And it's sad, man. It is
back
sad.
to the MGTOW thing. Us guys, we've figured out that pattern, and enough women that we see that we go, we don't want to be part of that, so we just check out.
When I was younger and was being driven by my hormones a little bit more, I was attracted to lots of different women. I can see some of the most beautiful women out there now, but I just see that attitude or see some of those red flags, and I'm just like, man, God bless the man that goes with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I will choose loyalty, respect, class over any of the looks or any of that other crap any day, man. People have the focus on sex. You know what? Yeah, that's great. But you need to be looking for a woman of substance. And, unfortunately, okay, you're in this situation. We're all in situation. We didn't marry perfect. You're talking to two guys, 6 marriages between just me and him on the screen.
We know a thing about a thing or two.
Horrible. That sounds horrible, but damn, it does. It does. I done got it stuck in my head 6.
Yeah,
that was a lot, but it's there now. So just make sure that you're giving your daughter the wisdom that she's going to need and setting the other example. I can guarantee you right now, kids don't like seeing men come in and out of that house.
No,
she's making notes of that. Trust me. She's making notes. She shouldn't have to. But make sure that you're showing her the other example and always be that listening ear and keep in there, dude. I can tell you're over it. And it's sometimes when there's nothing you can do, you just have to breathe in and out because unfortunately she's allowed to be that way.
Yeah. And for the men, be that example as well for your daughter. For your son. I mean, they're watching you, bad or good. They are watching. They're taking notes. They're going to push your buttons, drive you nuts, and they're going to be little adults that I got to take care of at some point. That's the thing. They're going to grow up and they're going to be in society. And please, for the love of God, get them prepared.
That's right. Well, guys, we're going to be back tomorrow. I hope you had a good episode of Dad Talk today. I hope you have a great Tuesday. If you want to talk to my buddy Kim, 762-441-0281. Again, 762-441-0281. When you leave the voicemail, make sure to say like Baltimore or Kim Klasick so I know that you're wanting to talk to her. Really quick again, we got the Christmas Adopt a Dad down at the bottom, Venmo, Dad Talk Today, no spaces. 100% of the proceeds is going to be going out to adopt some dads this Christmas that are having some hard times. I was looking even earlier, man. We've got packages going out to some of these guys right now, man. That's a great feeling, knowing that we can do that. And in this broke ass community, that we can pull something like that off, right? It's a good feeling, man. And just knowing that we're helping our brothers and that you guys are showing up here, you're supporting. Every day we get more and more voicemails. And I apologize that it was such a long hiatus. I had to get away from, as the last caller said, the bullshit. I had to get away from it for a while, man.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you.
Me too.
Don't consume this all the time. You know what? It's not as bad when we have everybody here just talking about it together, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know there's something kind of therapeutic.
Yeah, it is.
It really is, because we're starting to, every day that we come by and we hear more callers, it just feels like that brotherhood is getting bigger. So I'm enjoying this, guys.
Yeah.
Make sure you keep that coming in here. But until then, Dwayne, we're gonna keep this rolling for the rest of the week. So I'm sure I'll see you a little bit later on this week. I appreciate you being on here, man.
All right, love being here, and have a happy Taco Tuesday.
That's right.
I'm sorry, 80s Tubular Tuesday.
All right, guys.
You're too young to remember that one.
Really?
Tubular Tuesday.
Well, tubular. Michelangelo used to say it on the Turtles all the time.
Okay. Oh,
more like cowabunga.
Okay. I stand corrected.
Tubular. I remember it. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.